virtual one. So could you, at this time, give God praise as the family comes now. The children and grandchildren come right now. Let's take a minute.
Our Daddy in heaven, as we sit here pondering and wishing that you could talk, that we could talk to you today, there are so many things we didn't get to say. I know how much you care for us, and I know how much, and you know how much we care for you. And each time we think of you, it hurts to know I can't do it.
All right.
As we sit here pondering and wishing that we could talk to you today, there are so many things that we didn't get to say. I know how much you care for us and how much we care for you. And each time we think of you, it hurts us to know we'll never see you and will forever miss you. An angel came, took you by the hand, and said your place was ready in heaven far above, and that you had to leave your kids and all those you dearly loved. You had no much to live for. You had so much to do. You have so much to live for. You have so much to do. Still seem unbelievable that God has taken you. Although your life here on earth has passed, in heaven it starts anew. Play some beautiful music up there. We all know that's what you love to do. You live for all eternity, just as God promised you. And although you've walked through heaven's gates, we are never far apart. For every time we think of you, you are right here deep in our hearts. We love you, Daddy. Always and forever.
For him we were glad 8 beautiful babies got to call him Papa. Dear Papa, if you're listening, say a prayer for Jaren, DeQuay, Tyja, Stephen III, Jaden, Raven, Talia, and Trinity every day. Be sure to protect us and guide us on our way. We know when God called you, you had to go. But we want you to know, Papa, we miss you and love you so. Love your 8 beautiful grandbabies.
Loving expressions from your wife, Leslie Jackson. My best friend became my husband. A true man of God is why I loved him. Now he got his wings from our mighty God, and we never placed no one above him. Although my heart is broken and I must move on down here on earth, your family and friends mourn a great husband, father, papa, brother, and friend. I was truly blessed when you took my hand and we took those vows. I'd do it again. I was blessed to marry my true best friend. I love you, Pop, until my heartbeat stops. Your loving wife.
Amen. Stephen and I shared 5 children together. As we didn't make it, we moved on, but he was still a precious friend. We laughed together, we joked together. His wife and I became best of friends, and we were able to do this together. Their children became my children. Their grandkids together became my grandkids. So we shared that together, and we had plenty of good times. They come out to Vegas. They even came out with me and my husband to Idaho and shared some events with us. And we just had a great time as one big family. And I, myself, will miss him. And I'm just holding my kids up because I've been through it, been there, done that. And it hurts, but we know he's in a better place. And you all just pray for us and family.
Brought my stopwatch. You get every bit of my 2 minutes. Starting right now. I just want to say that Steve was one of the greatest guys I've ever met in my life. And he always kept it real, 1,000%. I love that about him. He always could make you laugh, could pick you up when you're depressed. And to me, this is a celebration because I told Steve in my heart, you're not gonna get away this easy. You better get your domino game right. We'll be up there with you. We're gonna go around eternity. And it's just gonna continue there. But he's the kind of person where he had so much life in him, you couldn't kill him. He had too much life in him to kill him. He just continued on. I know we'll see Steve again in heaven. I love the legacy that he left in my heart, my kids' life, my friends. I probably had maybe 500 people I can call friends, but about 5 are real friends. Steve was one of them, for real, in a real way. I don't look at this as something like, you know, this is a celebration because Steve is looking down in heaven right now. He's probably on the organ right now, getting busy up there, because that's how he got out. And I just really thank God for the time I had to spend with Steve. We actually, on Thursday, we're gonna go to the wood grill. I called him, I said, Steve, you know, it's about that time. We gotta hit the wood grill. We go to the wood grill, Norwalk, chop it up, and, you know, figure out what's going on in life. And, you know, and I just happened to go on Facebook and I said, no, not Steve. I said, I'm not believing this. So I've known Steve almost about 18, 19 years, and I said, well, I'm gonna call his cell phone. Never been off in 20 years. Called the cell phone, I said, oh no. I said, my heart dropped, but I said, I know for a fact I'm gonna see him in heaven. That's my 2 minutes, a little bit over, but God bless you.
Praise the Lord, saints. Amen. I can say a lot, amen, but I just want you to know that I've been knowing him over 30-something years, amen, and every one of his kids I saw born. And I want you to know that he was not just a friend, but he was my brother, an older brother that I never had. And I'm going to miss him dearly. And I'm going to say this, the Bible says that David served his generation and he slept. And today I want you to know that Stephen Jackson served his generation while he slept.
Right there. That was his best friend. That was the first person I contacted on Facebook. I hit his sister and I said, tell Jimmy his best friend is gone. And she couldn't believe it. But I'm here to stand here to say that this is a joyous time. Although my nieces and my nephews and my sisters, both of you are my sisters. We didn't lose a brother, we gained a sister when Leslie married Stephen Jackson. She became our sister because my dad said that all of them are his sons. They're not his son-in-laws, they're his sons. And we never separated ourselves from Stephen. Stephen was at every family function. He had a joke for everybody. I remember he came to my church and he played there for us. And he had a joke. The secretary handed him a check and Stephen dropped it on the floor. And we said, what was that for? He picked it up and said, I'm just making sure it ain't gonna bounce. He said, I guess it's good. I said, well, if it ain't good, Stephen, I'll make it good, but hopefully it's good. So, you know, I just want to say that I love you all. I love my brother. God knows I am going to miss him. I see him and all of his sons. I remember his youngest grandson, not the youngest, but little Stevie. We were at a barbecue. He was in the garage. We was all doing the family thing. And I said, let me hold the baby. He was the only child then for Stephen Jackson. And he said, you got to be careful with this one. I said, well, I got to be careful with this one. This one got my name. You got to hold him tonight. He might fall or something. So his name will be carried on. And to LA Church, I love you all. I know this might be inappropriate, but can my family stand up and show love? This is our family. This is who we grew up
Oh, he say no dancing in the pulpit. I was finna get in. But I just like to thank God for being here. I hate to come here for the sad occasion. And I've been knowing Steve 42 years. And we've been dancing 20 of them years together. So preacher, I ain't gonna dance, cause I done got a little old, but I'm gonna do it. And I want to say to his wife, she know I love her. And I'm gonna sing a little song that me and Steve used to sing when we was growing up together. And it's just a little bit. I know you said 2 minutes, but I'm gonna walk off while I'm saying. Precious Lord, take my
I met Brother Steve through Word of Truth Ministries. Right away we became friends. Every time we seen each other, we would uplift each other and encourage one another. Every time I seen him, we would always talk about life, music, and joke around. And I'm going to miss that. For me, this was a why God situation. Even Jesus asked God why. But he went on to say, not my will, but thy will be done. And that lets me know that God is in control. And every time I go to speak at Men's Day at Word of Truth, I look forward to see Stephen. But this time, the devil tried to creep in and say, don't go speak this time. But God's word must go forward. This time when I speak, I'm going to glance over at the keyboard. I'm going to say hi to my brother. I know he will be up there singing. Tell the angels to make more room. May the Lord continue to bless each and every one here, every family member and friend. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Excuse me, a little emotional right now, but that's our brother. That man right there, come on with. When I first got my job at GMB, tucked under his wing, and I love him from that. That's one of the, man, I haven't seen so smooth. Made me be a better man today. And I thank him for that. What I love most about him, with my brother Kevin, I call smooth finger when they play their keyboard. Oh man, I love to see Steve play the keyboard. I might not see him flush, but I will see the spirit. And still, I want to say, brother, I will miss you. You will be missed. And I love you, brother. And thank you for everything. For making me a better man.
Praise the Lord, everybody. Praise the Lord. I just thank God for being here. And I tell you, I love Brother Steve. I thank God for Brother Steve because he was my wingman on the organ. And you know, many times, sometimes, Brother Anthony, we get excited and go off the Richter scale. Steve would just bring me back on, you know? And I thank God for Steve because I just remember the good times with him. I remember last time I saw him at the park, how he had his daughter, and he was just such a family man. And most of all, I think about how he was a good joker. And one time I was talking to Steve, and I said, Steve, I got something maybe that can slim us down. He said, well, I don't see it working on you until I see it working on you. And that's what I want you to tell me. I used to call Steve the Don Rickles of LA Church of God. But I love you very much. Praise the Lord.
We'll make this real quick. Steve was my friend. The last time I seen Steve was at Bishop Gibbons' church, and they had called me because he couldn't make it, and I was more than happy to cover for him. What he had to do on that Sunday, it kind of fell through, but Steve still showed up, and we played together, and we had a good time. Me and Steve were always, I know we're not supposed to joke in church, but it was hard to sit by Steve and not be laughing in church. Steve said something, and we were sitting in front of everybody. And I put, like I do, I put the program over my face or my hands. I'm like, man, this is the wrong place. He's like, but don't you see it? Look, look, look. I said, man, you're gonna get me in trouble. I remember working on the trucks, the watermelon trucks with him. Steve taught me how to pick good watermelons. It was that nice hollow sound. Steve. I also worked at GMB with Steve. I trained him on the reverb and the furnaces. And yeah, so we I believe, about 30 years. My LA Church of God family, raise your hand, amen. It's been a long time. But we were all family, and we're still family today, amen. Steve, we love you. We're going to miss you, but we'll see you again.
Not as good at this as some of the other guys. I hired Steve back last August, and when he sat down with me, I knew there was something different about him than all the other guys that I'd sat down with. I know a lot of people in the room known him for a long time. Unfortunately for us as a company, he's only with us for about 8 months. But the time that he was there, he made an unbelievable impact across the whole company. Nobody ever had a bad day after they came by Steve. He's probably, as I told his wife, and probably one of the most positive guys I've ever been around. No matter how bad a day I was having, no matter how much was going on, when I come across Steve, and I know when the other guys come across Steve, he just couldn't help but smile. So, as much as he went home and talked about work, I want you to thank the family. I mean, when he came to work, that's all he had to talk about was how much fun he had at home and everything that he had special at home. So, thanks for being there for him and making him who he was. So,
Jared, I thought you said you weren't good at this. Hi, I'm Adam. I worked with Steve. I always saw him in the morning. He always started about 5 minutes after me, and it was never just a hi. It had to be a conversation, smiling, and joking around like everybody's saying. But I remember when Steve would always talk about like the fishing trip. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get in the fishing trip, and I'm gonna catch the biggest fish. I was like, okay, Steve, you got this, you got this. He's always keeping his drum clean, everything. I remember when we went to Wiener Schnitzel down in Long Beach. He's like, yo, let's get some lunch. Where there were 2 trucks that broke down. Jared, you probably don't know about this. But we went over there, I was like, let's get the family style. We'll get the 5 hot dogs and the 5 burgers and we'll split them. So, Steve, I just wanted to let you know that I'm here for you. Everyone else is here for you. And we'll miss you, man.
Hello, my name's Eddie. I met Steve about 6 months ago on the job, and yeah, he just came up joking right away, and wow. He introduced himself as Steven Jackson, and I told him, man, you don't look like the running back in the Rams. So right off the bat, we hit it off, and then I'm looking at this thing today, and how much you love fishing, and that was mine and his connection. I showed him some of my pictures of some of my big ocean fish and stuff like that, and he's like, man, I never caught a fish like that, man. He goes, I want to go fishing with you so bad. So I went out and I put a private charter together this summer, and last time I seen Steven, he was like this, going, like, he's like, but just do me a favor, don't tell my wife how much the trip cost. And he said that more than once, and I said, Steven, if you tell me that one more time, you're paying for my silence. And I'm not going to sing, because that guy that just sang a couple minutes ago, man, he was great. Yeah, we'll miss Steven. Man, hell of a guy.
Hey, everybody. I'm Kurt Schumann. Part of my job is training some of the drivers that come in, and Steve came to us. I drove with him before down at Lake Elsinore. Worked at Pacific Aggregate down there together. So I knew of his abilities and contributions to the ready mix industry, and I pretty much just gave him the steering wheel and said, "Go for it, bro. I know how you do things, you know." And we went out to one job one day. Boy, it was a rough time. It wasn't Steven, it was the contractor. He just couldn't do anything right in this guy's eyes. Steven did nothing wrong. I said, dude, just sit this one out. Just kind of stand up there, see how I do things, you know, and I'll smooth this guy over, kind of get us out of here. So, and boy, this guy didn't lose it on me too. And I thought he gave me the signal back up while I was pouring out, and I started backing up, and he just come unglued. He bounced outside the chute, just looking at me, you know, with these big eyes and everything. And I locked the chute, and this guy starts coming up to the front of the truck, and I was like, oh, dang. I look around, and Steven was nowhere to be found. He had gone to the other side of the truck with some of the other workers. And so that was our thing. The guy came up and said, who told you to do that? Who told you? And so that was our little joke together. We just went to each other saying, who told you? But miss him dearly. Gonna miss him a lot. Thank you.